All right, so I was asked a question that I've actually been thinking a lot about for a while, because at some point it'll be a part of this little history thing that I'm doing. But I was asked by another coach, what do I think the most influential courses are that I've taken? Give a description of them, things like that. So, sorry I can't just give like, take this course and you'll be better at this, because it's not really that simple. And there's a little bit more to it if you really want to understand how a course, or at least how the courses I've taken, how they have shaped me as a coach. So I'm also kind of warming up my power cleans a little bit as well. It's going to be a little bit of a talk, so sorry. Okay, so I get this question a lot, and people want the answer like, oh, take this course and it'll make you a better coach, or it'll make you better at this, or something like that. And it doesn't work like that. But that's how people take courses, and that's why they end up not being any good. And I'm sorry to say it, but that's just the reality of it. Like, you can pick any example. Lots of people pick up the guitar, very few end up being good at it. Lots of people start jujitsu, very few end up being good at it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. A lot of people pick up coaching or training, and very few end up being very good at it. And I think one of the reasons why is because they think it's like a coloring book. Like, color this one brown, color this one pink, whatever, and you color them all in the way they're supposed to be colored, and you're gonna have this pretty picture. And it's not really like that. It's more like somebody gives you a brown crown, somebody gives you a blue one. You pick up crowns along the way, and it's up to you to create the masterpiece. And you see this with anything. Again, like jujitsu. Even my instructor, Caleb, like, he's learned this along the way. He's like, you can't just teach moves, because then people get into roles, they get into matches, and they hope they end up in the right spot to execute a move that they learned. You're much better if you teach a concept, and then, learn how to apply moves from concepts, learn how to adapt the concept to the positions that you're in. And that's how I've always taken these courses. I kind of knew that at the start. I never took a course hoping that it was going to tell me how to be a coach. I took a course instinctively, and I think maybe this was just, again, from maybe like my martial arts background. Bruce Lee was very famous. You still see this on the internet. Take what is useful, make it your own, and discard the rest. And that's how I've approached every course. So have that in mind. Judd Logan, he was a great person, a great athlete and coach that I learned from all the time. And he said, at his point in his career, and he was saying it to me, he's like, every time you take a course, you're going to disregard about 90% of it. But you're hoping that 10% of the course, you walk away and you're like, I never thought of that. That's something new. I'm going to add that to my repertoire. If you go to these courses and you're hoping that the instructor is going to teach you how to be like them, you're going to end up very disappointed. So this is the part I've been thinking about a really long time, maybe a few months. I've been thinking about how lucky a group of us trainers and coaches were that we got to learn under Charles Poliquin. The fine details aside, for a lot of us, he represented this ideal that, for me, I didn't even know existed before I met him, right? So I might as well just make this a part of my history video series. But, yes, I knew I wanted to be like a trainer of some kind. Like, I wanted to instruct people how to work out, but, I thought that the highest you could achieve was probably like head manager, personal trainer at like a Gold's Gym or Bally's Fitness at the time. I kind of thought that was like the pinnacle. And then I met Charles, and he's talking about training princes and, consulting doctors and training Olympians while training general pop people and creating courses and content and being a leader and educating people. And it's just like, holy cow, like it really opened my eyes up to the fact that, obviously this goes for anything, but if you become excellent at what you do, like the sky's the limit, right? But he's kind of like that person that opened my eyes up to the fact that you didn't have to just be a personal trainer at a commercial gym. I guess I gotta move that mic. It's okay, it's still on. I might take it off from my future sets. But anyways, so again, forget if you really knew who Charles was and the fine details and everything like that, like just forget all that, okay? For a lot of us, and this is who I'm saying, these people were lucky because you can see it. You can see the effect they had on these coaches and trainers. He represented this ideal, this seemingly unattainable person that we could hope to achieve to be as a coach. Speaking multiple languages, traveling across the world, training athletes from multiple nations, like making obscene amount of money for just being really good at what you do, creating gyms, building gyms, we were really lucky because that bar was set so high for us. And the few of us who accepted that challenge and was like, okay, he was always talking about the Japanese principle that if a teacher can't make a student better than them, they're a bad teacher. So he wanted to make people better than him, and he said that all the time. So the few of us that actually took that and were like, okay, game on, I'm going to be better than you one day. They've really crafted themselves into the best trainers around the world. I guarantee you, if you picked the top 10 objectively best coaches around the world, at least half of them have to have been influenced by Charles at some point. All right, so this is all getting into the question, okay? I promise. So, Charles represented the fact that being a good coach or a good trainer, I'm just going to say coach from now on, you had to know pretty much everything about human existence. Obviously from good form to exercise to recovery methods, you had to know your anatomy, you had to know nutrition, you had to know supplements, psychology, like you had to know everything about everything if you wanted to get to his level. So, I still have that effect. I don't know if it's, good to admit it, embarrassing to admit it, or whatever it is, or if people scoff at it, but I think a lot of us, including myself, still, every once in a while we look in the mirror and we're kind of like, am I getting close to what he was? Am I better? Like, am I on par? Just that little reality check every once in a while, like, if he were still alive today, would I get the thumbs up or the thumbs down, So, and the reason why I say we were lucky is because, I'm not going to say that there are not coaches like that nowadays. There are. I think, I don't know. I can't say for sure. I can't, really name one. And here's why. Because there are lots of great coaches at what they do. But there's not somebody that I think of that was as great at what they do in all those things like Charles did. And again, whether you knew him in very fine detail and you could see past, whatever, like the salesmanship or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, it's kind of like the effect Arnold Schwarzenegger had on everybody's training. Like, yeah, as he got older and you learn, okay, steroids and, all this and stuff and this, that. But yeah, but who cares? Like, who had more of an impact on the entire world working out than Arnold. Like, nobody. So we were really lucky. And what that's getting at is that, again, like I said, he represented this idea that you had to know everything about everything. You had to be great at everything, not just a jack of all trades, but you had to be a king of all trades, as best as you could be. So from that, I just started taking courses, like courses in everything, you know, like I am still checking off courses that he recommended like over 10 years ago. Like, he recommended getting good at so many things and so many courses, and he met so many people that I'm still like, okay, I still need to take that one. I still need to take that one. I'm taking dry needling in a week. I've had dry needling up here for about 14 years. You know, part of that is going through the process of becoming somebody that can take dry needling, but so when people ask me, well, what course made you, name your top 3 courses, there's not really top 3 courses. Here's why. I was shocked to find this out, and I find it out routinely. I'm still amazed. I will go to these courses that are taught by the best at whatever it is. I almost hesitate to use names because I don't want to like make it sound like somebody's not good. That has nothing to do with it. But I think I'm safe to say this one example. So Charles recommended taking a cadaver course. So I flew out to Colorado and I spent a week dissecting a body. And it was taught by Tom Myers. Arguably like seen as a guru with the anatomy and some soft tissue work. So he's out there and I'm picking his brain because Charles talked about picking people's brains. So I'm asking him questions and I'm like, and he was talking about a subject and I was like, how do you pair that with ART? And he goes, what's ART? And so my mind was blown, like maybe he didn't know what I was talking about and I explained it and stuff like that and he had no idea what it was. My mind was blown. I'm like, how have you not intersected with that path at some point in your life? ART being a soft tissue therapy. And it's been around since, I think, the late 80s, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I'm asking one guru about the work of another guru, no idea. And then again, that doesn't make him bad. Like, okay, you're still Tom Myers. Like, everybody still sees you as a guru. That's fine. But I was blown away, right? And that's kind of what I'm getting at. This is mashing all this in together, right? So at the beginning, I talked about how you have to take what melds with you, what you connect with in course content, like what really resonates with you. And you have to take that out and disregard everything else and not try to be like the instructor. I forgot to take my thing off, so I'll take it off next time. But anyways, you have to not try to be like the instructor. Even Charles, I don't try to be like Charles. I try to be like the ideal I had in my head of who I thought Charles was. And that's what I'm chasing. So obviously, that person doesn't exist, and that's nothing on Charles. That was just like what I had in my head, right? That person doesn't exist, so there's no blueprint on how to get to a person that doesn't exist. You have to create it along your way. And that's what I've done. All these courses, I take what I feel like I resonate with, what I understand, and that's what I put into my methods. And I have my methods. If I brought the people that I've learned from in here and they watched me for a day, they would disagree with like probably 70 or 80% of what I do. But that's because they don't know everything I know. And I'm not saying I know more than them. I'm saying I know different things than them. So when I walked away from that Tom Myers course on dissection, like I knew what he knew about what he presented, but I also know ART. I'm full body ART certified. So like my mindset, my tool set is different. I can create different things. Don't try to be like people that are out there because you're not them. You don't have their tool set. You don't have their experience, their eyes, their life. I can be given a box of crowns and another coach can be given a box of crowns. And you tell us to draw something like a beautiful skyline at sunset, right? And we turn our backs to each other, and then when we're done, we show each other. They're going to be completely different things because of our experiences. I don't know. I'm getting old. You're going to have to listen to me talk. I don't care. I have to get around to this. That's another thing. Oh, God, I'm going on an old man rant. That's another thing. Everybody wants their information now. Like, that's what all this is doing to us. Like, you want to understand it in 5 minutes or less, and if you can't, then it's not worth your time. We're getting further away from reading full books. We're getting further away from isolating ourselves with one subject material until we fully grasp it. We go from one thing for 5 seconds to another thing for 5 seconds to another thing, and nobody masters anything. And I deal with this with my current assistant coach, Colin. He's kind of going through what I kind of went through when I met Charles and I met some of these other great coaches. You know, I met Charles and I'm like, wow, like, how do I get to that in like 6 months? You know, that obviously that's impossible. And Colin's kind of doing the same thing. He sees everything that I do here all day, and he's like, God, like, when are you going to teach me that? When are you going to teach me that? Where can I go take that course? I'm like, man, you got to understand, like, you need time to practice what I'm teaching you. You need the time to figure out what you like, what you don't like, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. You need to see how people actually react to it. You need time to develop your tool set. And that's not going to happen fast. And people get deterred by that, and they get like kind of down about that. And it prevents them from taking any further steps. They take that first step, you know, I don't know, maybe they buy the book, maybe they take the course, and then the book or the course shows them that they got a long road ahead of them, and they're like, I'll stop there. I'll go do something else that gives me instant gratification. I'll go do something that makes me feel like I learned something, right? It's kind of like, again, I'm going to use jiu-jitsu a lot. You know, I teach you an arm bar, and you're like, all right, sweet, I got this arm bar from this one position. Great. Let me go roll. Let me roll, coach. I know an arm bar. And then we roll, and you get taken down, you're in side control, and now you don't know what to do. So, you know, I'm sorry for the long answer, but again, people got to understand, you got to understand the full story. Not one of these courses has made me who I am. There's not a single course where I use 100% of what I learned. And I think that's what makes me, I'm not going to say it makes me good. That's not my job. It's not my job to say I'm good. It's my client's job to say I'm good. But I can say that it makes me unique in a good way, not unique in a bad way. I'm not a good bad example, at least in this. So with that all being said, I hope that kind of like, I hope that really drives the point across to you guys. And this is kind of feeds into one of the videos I made the other day about why I think there are lots of reports of bad coaching out there, is because they get into it because they like working out. But to be good at this job, you have to dedicate your entire, this is a lifestyle, this is not a job. I believe people are coaches. Their job is not being a coach. You either are a coach and you're getting paid to do it, or you just haven't been fired yet for pretending to be a coach. So, you know, I hope that you truly understand the message in what I said. Now, I will objectively say some courses that I feel like were probably like foundational courses, but unfortunately some of them are not around anymore. So, number one, I have to say biosignature. Even though I'm not one of the coaches that touts himself as like, you know, like I don't sell nutrition packages or things like that. Biosignature, first of all, that was the first course that I met Charles at. All the PICP stuff, it was like Clark and Andre and Owen and John and guys like that. But Biosignature level 1, back in 2000, who knows when, that was the first course that I actually met Charles and got to see him. And so that was kind of, you know, I don't know if that was just kind of like an association effect. All right, so I'm going to do my next one. I'm going to take this off briefly. So yeah, I don't know if there was an association effect there, bleeding Biosignature and meeting Charles for the first time together. But whatever it is, I know Biosignature has got to be the greatest course I've ever taken, because it wasn't just a nutrition course. It was supplements, it was psychology, it was training, it was everything. It was the course where I realized, like, working out is more than just the workout. The crappy part is that even though Biosignature is still around in name, it's not going to be the Biosignature that I took. And anybody who has taken the old ones with Charles and has taken the new ones, and I've taken the new ones, and like, great information, but definitely didn't carry that same sort of aura and effect around the course. And they'll all tell you the same, anybody who's done those. And again, for those of you who knew Charles and knew, like, if you thought half of Biosignature was crap, it didn't matter, because what did you have to do to learn that it was crap? You had to learn and research and apply and study the results. Like, it made you better. You got to know the bad to know the good. So, yeah, Biosignature level 1 back in 2010 era, somewhere around there. And then the second greatest impact is definitely FST, Fascial Stretch Therapy. I think they call it Frederick Stretch Therapy now. But Chris and Ann Frederick, man, like, that is the foundation for 80-85% of what I do in here, not only with the manual therapy that I do, being a licensed massage therapist, but when I watch people work out, I understand the anatomy the way I do because of FST. And the great thing is, you don't have to be an LMT, you don't have to be licensed to take those courses. You can just be a coach or a trainer and go take those courses. I've taken their level 1 through 3. I think I've taken level 3 twice. Yeah. And the special courses, and, you know, like, I need to go out there again. It's been 2 years. I absolutely love them. They're great people. It's incredible information. I don't study it as much as I should, but definitely FST. And then on top of that, it's got to be the internships that you do. But there's not just one. Because if you take one, it's like the allegory of the cave. Whether that, I can't remember, that's Plato or Socrates. But if you take one internship, again, you're falling into that trap of trying to become like that one guy that you took the internship from. So in the allegory, you are the person chained in the cave looking at the shadows, and that shadow is your one internship. That's all you know. Okay, so when you start taking more internships and learning from other coaches, and coaches that oppose the guy you just learned from, man, that opens your eyes up. Now you've got some conflicting views, and it's up to you to figure out, well, who's right, who's wrong, or what do you like and what do you don't like. Sometimes it's not about right or wrong. Sometimes it's about context. So yeah, internships, you know, and I'm very fortunate. I got to learn from the best coaches and athletes in the world. Like, again, whether it makes me good or bad, that's up for other people to say. But I know it definitely makes me unique. I can say Boris Sheiko was my coach. I spent weeks with Klokov in Russia. I've had Andre Benoit. I've learned from Charles. I was fortunate enough to know Judd personally, to learn a ton from him. I just recently had John Brose as a coach. You know, like, and I know I've had more. Dr. Alfredo Herrera. Like, I actually, now that I think about it, I've had so many amazing world-class coaches, I'm not sure that I'm thinking of them all. And if you put them in a room together, they wouldn't agree. I mean, one of the greatest days of my life was getting to bring Boris Shako to meet Louis Simmons and watching them discuss. And they didn't agree on everything, but they didn't disagree on everything. So what would I tell somebody now? You know, FST is still around. Chris and Ann are still around, and I hope for many more years. But as far as coaching, you know, what do I tell people? Andre Benoit's still around. Go learn from him. Go learn from him. Pay him for an internship. Buy him a first-class ticket to your house or the hotel where you live, and you know, have him teach you for a week. Like, he's worth every penny. And other than that, you know, I don't know what to tell you guys. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody. I'm really not. There's lots of great coaches. And there are a lot of great courses. But to say to go take this one or this one over anything else, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I've taken all the not all the ARTs, there's a ton of them, but I've taken a lot of ARTs. I'm full body certified, done some level 2 courses, but I use ART very little. Let me do my next set. Let me hit 100 again. All right, I think I can hit 110, yeah? So, you know, if you're a coach that teaches courses and you're like, oh, why isn't he recommending me? I'm not saying you're a bad coach. Maybe I'm just not thinking of it right now. But outside of Andre, like all the other guys, I don't know that they teach anymore. Like, you know, Clark, you know, he's into soft tissue stuff, and I know he doesn't teach like his own courses. He teaches with Dr. Scap. You know, and all the other courses that I've taken and learned from, like, they're great. But, you know, I definitely don't think I'm going to say you need to go take this or you need to go take that. The Kilo courses, my God. Okay, so the Kilo courses, Kilo Strength Society, Stefan Kazalt, I hope I'm saying that right. I hope I'm not rubbing anybody the wrong way over there. They're great courses. If, like, you're getting into the industry and, you know, you're looking for a course to take, their stuff is super solid. As like a springboard, okay? And I don't mean that as any kind of disrespect. But, you know, you're going to learn that information, and it's presented as it should be. It's presented like, this is how you do it, right? And I know in his courses, Stefan says, you know, this is how I do it. Other people do it the other way. He's very pragmatic. But if you're not mindful about it, you'll walk away thinking, okay, like, you know, I need to do my A's like this and my B's like this, and this is how the periodization needs to go and stuff like that. And like I said, it works, it's solid, but again, I'm going to say you need to take more courses. You need to take other periodization. You need to learn it from other sources, get some internships, and you need to develop your own way so that you're not trying to be a Stefan. And I think he would say the same thing. And you got to understand why I say that. It's not because Stefan's bad. I've talked about this in the past. My undergraduate's in psychology, and one of my favorite psychologists, his name was Abraham Maslow. And in one of his books, he talks about love knowledge. And love knowledge is the knowledge that something presents to you when you fall in love with it. Okay, so like, I don't know, two people, we could read a book on physics, astrophysics. Okay, here we go. A Brief History of Time, Stephen Hawking. I could read that book, somebody else could read that book. Exact same material. I happen to love astrophysics. I have read that book maybe 11 times in my life. And I understand very little of it, but I love to read it. And so when I read it, when we walk away, me and the other person who read the book, they're going to understand the letter of what was written, and I will understand the spirit of what was written, because I love it. So when I read those words, it's resonating with me and it's opening itself up to me in a different way. So if you try to be somebody else, like I was just talking about Kilo, if you take the Kilo courses and you're like, okay, I'm going to try to be Stefan, you will only ever come off as this anemic carbon copy of Stefan. And people will read that. They will pick up on that. They may not be able to articulate it, but they will walk away. And when they find somebody who is genuine with their coaching, they'll be like, oh, okay, I see the difference now, right? Because they love what they do. And what they present is their own. It's their work of art. Just the way Stefan comes off when he's presenting his material, right? So yeah, the Kilo guys, they are great for like the exercise programming, stuff like that. And you know, people are always like, well, you don't say PICP. Because PICP, when I took it, was presented in a way where you took level 1 and you feel like you only had a third or half of the equation, right? So you take level 1 and you're like, I kind of know some things, but I don't know how to put it together. And then you take level 2 and you get more of it, you know, but then you're presented with like a really hard training client or something really complex comes up and you're like, oh, I wasn't taught about that. And it was presented in kind of weird ways. And then, you know, level 1, you're just learning about like sets, reps, volume, intensity, but you're also being thrown in structural balance and stuff like that. You know, it's kind of like, maybe, I don't know, like when you took them all, if you took all the courses, you're like, oh, that's a really good, you know, good understanding. But lo and behold, I only ever took level 1 and level 2. So, yeah, I'm not a level 4 or 5 coach, so don't come see me. But, yeah, and when it comes to the structural balance stuff, that's one of those things, like I said earlier, I'm good for having learned it because I learned its holes, its pitfalls, its shortcomings, right? But the idea of structural balance, like, yeah, I mean, that plays a part in everything that I do. You know, when we do assessments and write their programming and stuff like that, like, it's all about structural balance. So, yeah, I don't say PICP, because, and the other thing is I haven't taken any of the new ones since Charles has passed. You know, I did my PICP a long, long time ago. So I don't know what it's like now. I'm not saying it's bad or good, I just don't know. But I'm also saying that even the ones that I did take with Charles, with Andre, with all those guys, like, I think, like, if that PICP was around today, and versus like who Kilo is now today, I would direct somebody to Kilo first. If you took the Kilo stuff first and then took like the PICP, the structural balance stuff, I think it would make a lot more sense. So that's a lot of information, but again, I understand that when people ask me this question, they're essentially saying, how do I direct the next 5 to 10 years of my life? So I'm not just gonna take that lightly and be like, oh, just go take this course and you'll be good. Because then they go take it and they're not good, and they're like, oh, I'm not gonna ask Jance any more questions, and now they're telling other people, I wanna make sure I give a complete answer. I think maybe 7 people are gonna sit this entire video of me rambling on like this, but hopefully that helps. If you need more clarification, or if I offended you in some way in this video, you know, please get at me, let me know. I hope I didn't. But yeah, hopefully that helps. And if you need some more direction, if you've taken those courses, you want further direction, I can tell you where to go after those courses. That's honestly like 2 to 4 years of courses right there. That's about $15,000 to $20,000 of courses. So that's enough to keep you busy for, like I said, quite a few years. So I'm gonna end by hopefully making this 110 power clean and then stop the video.